Okay, so in this video, I'm going to go through the 2025 DM ad strategy that you can use to grow your gym business, your online coaching business, perhaps you're a personal trainer, whatever you do in the fitness industry. This is going to be an effective strategy for you to use to try and bring in new leads and inevitably get new customers. Now, this isn't a better strategy to just running normal lead campaigns. However, it is an alternative strategy that has been working really well, not just for us, but for our clients. So I'm going to show you the very basics and the use cases for this strategy. Okay, so here we are in the ads manager. So obviously here we're going to start building out the campaign. Now, the main thing that we need to do if we actually want to run a DM ad is we need to run an engagement campaign. Usually we want to run lead campaigns. However, in this instance, we're using an engagement campaign. And then I'm going to tick manual setup so we can have full control over what it is that we are putting into this ad campaign. Okay, so here we are. So usually what I like to call this is an engagement DM. As you can see, we have already got our own DM campaigns running. So that's the name, engagement DM, something like that. But also, actually, I'm going to add IG. Now, we are going to purely be running this on Instagram. So we're not going to be using Facebook Messenger, nothing like that. This is purely Instagram DMs. This is what we have found to be the most effective for our strategy. So yeah, give it a try, see if it works for you. So I'm not going to run through all the details of how to set up a campaign. So I'm not going to go through any of the budget or anything like that. I'm simply going to show you what the changes are for a normal lead campaign compared to a DM campaign. If you want to know the ins and outs of a normal campaign and how that works, your approach, everything from creatives, copy, campaign setup, targeting, anything like that, then I'm going to leave a link in the description for a video that goes through that in great detail. But this is just purely focused on the difference between that and the actual DM campaign itself. So obviously we need to then click a conversion location. So like I said, we're doing purely Instagram. So we need to untick our Facebook account. So the only traffic is going to go through to our Instagram DMs and our Instagram inbox. And then outside of that, nothing else really changes compared to a normal campaign. Everything else is the usual budget setup, targeting, different audiences, Advantage Plus audiences and placements. So then we go through to the actual ad itself. And here we obviously put the creative in and we will write our copy. But this is the main thing that's going to change is the message template. Now we have a greeting that we can put in here. So the text will say something like hi, and then you can ask for whatever action it is that you are looking for. So you can make it super simple here. And if you are a gym owner, then perhaps you could just say something like, you could say something simple like, hi, what questions do you have about our memberships? And then under here, you could have perhaps the price, what kind of access you get with different tiers, refund structure or payment structure, how does that work? And these are some sort of normal FAQs that you get on a regular basis. Now, this is sort of the basic approach, and this can work, but this is not the way that we've been using it. What we've been doing is we actually have a word as a call to action. So we ask people to send us a word, and that will then trigger an automated response from us. So we could say something like, send me the word training to start your fitness journey. So here it's very simple for the person to understand, right, I only need to send a singular word, which is training. That will open up the conversation, and then you can go to them with some sort of script, with some sort of questioning, and you can basically qualify them and then funnel them through to whatever your next stage is, either a meeting, a call, or just buying your program, whatever it might look like. So this is another sort of straight to the sale approach. And this can work, and this has worked for us, but the most effective way that we've actually seen this work is with a lead magnet. So you can see here, send me the word training for your free guide. So obviously you need to build out your own lead magnet. You need to understand what is the most effective lead magnet that you can run. Again, if you don't understand what I mean by lead magnet, I'll leave a link to a video in the description where I simply go through lead magnets from start to finish in a lot of detail, so you can watch that as well if you want to understand how to build out an effective lead magnet for your fitness business. But this is a really good way of actually trying to open up conversation. So we lead with value, we give them a free guide, but then not only this also opens up conversation. So then we can go back to them, we can follow up a few hours later, the day after, for the rest of the week, and basically ask, how have you found the lead magnet? Do you have any further questions? We can then build up that trust by answering questions that they have about the lead magnet. And then when it comes to for the time for us to basically ask for the sale, to ask for them to give us money for the next level, it's a lot less salesy. And because they've already consumed the lead magnet, that lead magnet acts as a natural stepping stone from where they are to your paid service. So this is something to think about. And what I do recommend is you have something on the back end that basically kicks all these new leads through to a list, so you can keep this very organized, so you know, okay, the day after I need to follow up with them. And you can automate these things, but what we have found is actually speaking to someone manually and not relying on some sort of AI bot. You build a connection immediately, okay? And you can answer in the exact way that you would like to answer. So you can start to build that personal relationship with these leads as soon as you possibly can. Now, obviously, if you are running this with a huge ad budget and you've got loads of DMs coming through, then that might be tough. Or if you do find yourself, you're very busy, you don't have the time to actually sit on your phone and respond to these leads, then you might want to look at other options, AIs, maybe even appointment setters. But I recommend that you should do this by yourself for a while. Understand what works, understand what messages hit home, how you need to speak to these people so that you increase the likelihood that you funnel them through to being a paid customer. If you do this for a few months, then you'll have a really good understanding of what you need to do to make this as effective as possible. So this is the way that we recommend. Okay, so just to go through the different types of approaches that we can take. So we have sort of straight for the neck, straight for the sale kind of approach where we get a response from our DM ad and then we basically nurture them and then get them to book an appointment. So you basically ask them where they're at right now, what they're struggling with, how do they think that you could help them, and then you slowly nurture them into a call, a meeting, coming in for an orientation, for a gym tour, whatever it may be. So this is an effective approach and this has worked, but then I'll just highlight the other approach, or the other approach here adds an extra step and it's DM response. You send the lead magnet and then you nurture them and slowly book them into an appointment. Now, obviously, this might complicate things a bit more. It makes things a bit more difficult, but if you are someone that's new and you don't have loads of testimonials, you don't have loads of case studies, perhaps you don't have loads of reviews or before and after pictures, just any sort of social proof that you can show to your prospects that basically proves to them that you can get the job done, then a lead magnet can be a really effective way of actually building that trust with someone outside of relying on things like reviews, testimonials, or case studies. Ideally, we will have both, but what this allows us to do, provided that we have built out a quality lead magnet, is it shows our prospects that we can get them results. And they basically think, well, if this is the kind of value I get for free, then imagine the kind of value I would get if I were to pay them money. So that's what we're trying to do here. But the beauty of this, outside of sending out cold DMs, for example, because you can run the cold DM script that you have built out within this and it will sort of work. But the beauty is these prospects and these leads are coming to you. They know they have a problem. They know that they need help to get it fixed, and they think that you could potentially do that. And the dynamic slightly changes where you're now the authority figure and people are coming to you for advice rather than you going to them and basically saying, oh, please work with me. So it puts you in a position of authority and power, which really helps you out and puts you in a very favorable position when you are speaking to these leads. So when you're trying to book them in for appointments, that becomes a lot easier. When you're trying to sell them your products, that becomes a lot easier. These people will stay for longer. They'll be more accepting of your methods and the way that you work. They'll basically just be easier people to work with, which is ideal for everyone. You can get them better results. You have less of a headache actually working with them. Everyone wins. So this is a really good option. I would definitely say don't scrap your lead campaigns, but I do think it's going to be a really good idea for you to run a DM ad campaign alongside your lead campaign with the same creative, same messaging and everything like that, and just understand what kind of response are you getting. Do people seem to be more open to DMing you, or would people rather fill out a lead form? And you can test and you can see which campaign is getting the better results for you. So something to test. This has worked for us, so we know this works. However, sometimes lead campaigns do better, sometimes DM ads do better. So give them a go, test them out if you haven't already. This is the basic approach that you can take. It's not very hard. If you want to learn more about campaign setup as a whole, there'll be a video for that in the description. And if you want to understand more about lead magnets, there will also be a link in the description. Okay, so that is going to be your DM ad strategy for 2025. This is the most up-to-date approach that we're using. This has worked for us and this will generate results for you, provided that you follow the instructions properly. So, like I say, there are other resources in the description, but if you want to find out other ways that you can grow your fitness business through effective marketing, then click on the video on the screen now.